This is the Gerry Callahan Show.
I don't think I can take 5 more months of this. It's going to be difficult. I know I do it to myself. I watch CNN occasionally. I flip over to MSNBC. I see what the mainstream media is saying, and it's all the same over and over again. Trump is a threat to democracy. This is the most important election because our democracy is on the ballot. If you vote for the evil orange man, we may never have elections again. As Robert De Niro said, he will never leave office. Is that the best they've got? Right now, as I'm speaking, Joe Biden is speaking at Pointe du Hoc, probably pronounced that wrong, in France, the site where Reagan made a spectacular speech 40 years ago to mark the 40th anniversary of D-Day. Well, now we're marking the 80th anniversary, and we have Joe Biden attempting to capture some of that Reagan magic. He's unfortunately, he's not Ronald Reagan. I know Ronald Reagan. Ronald Reagan was a friend of mine, and you're no Ronald Reagan. Well, he's going to try. And you know what he's talking about? One guess. Democracy. Democracy's on the ballot. Democracy's hanging in the balance. What does that mean? I know I ask this every day. What does it mean? What does it mean that Trump is a threat to democracy? By the way, yesterday, they were all saying it. All the, Joe Scarboroughs and Chris Matthews and Joe Biden and all his surrogates were saying Trump's a threat to democracy. On the day, Trump's guy, Steve Bannon, host of the War Room, former Trump advisor, was sentenced to prison for defying a congressional subpoena. That's just like Peter Navarro, an advisor to Donald Trump, who's serving time right now. I think he's 73 years old. He's doing time for defying a subpoena. That's what Democrats do all the time. Hunter Biden himself defied a congressional subpoena. So did Eric Holder and Lois Lerner, and none of them went to jail. Only Trump guys, Trump people, go to jail for defying a subpoena. And the people who put him in jail are telling you today that Donald Trump is a threat to democracy. Don't they have anything else? If I'm advising Joe Biden, if I'm advising Kamala Harris, I say, we could break that out once in a while, but every day you say it, to me, it reveals that you got nothing. I mean, you got nothing. They can't talk about the economy unless they're lying. They can't talk about the border. They can't talk about peace, prosperity, those kind of things. So they talk about Trump threatening our democracy. I didn't even know Chris Matthews was still alive. He got chased out of MSNBC because he was harassing the interns or something. I don't know what he was just another one of those pervy old men. But he came back yesterday and he made it clear, Trump, you vote for Trump, we may lose our fragile democracy. Let's listen to this fool.
This is the opposite of Donald Trump, who wants to put them before firing squads, basically. He wants to put them all in jail. He's unbelievable the way he talks about his opponents. And this is exactly the choice we have, a dictatorship or a democracy. We have to choose. This election is about more than abortion. It's about the whole question of what kind of government we're going to have. What kind of a country do we want to live in? Do we want a dictator who will tell the U.S. Congress, don't do anything about the border? Just don't do anything. Let it rock and roll. Let thousands come through between now and Election Day. It doesn't matter if they stay here forever, as long as we win the election. He's going to talk like that to the Supreme Court. He would love to see them give him immunity. He'd love to get that. He's probably still counting on it in this trial in New York, too, about the hush money. He's probably working up some backroom plan to somehow speed this to the Supreme Court and let the Alito and that incredible coup they pulled up there against Judge Roberts. I mean, Alito is running the show. So you never know what's happen with his 5 members. And I'm telling you, Trump,
by the way,
rolling
while they're talking about Trump putting his opponents in front of a firing squad or putting them in prison, they show a picture of Steve Bannon, who's on his way to prison. I mean, honest to God, what does that mean? A dictatorship. Donald Trump, to review, already served one term. He can serve one more term. At the end of that term, there's going to be an election in 2028. His running mate, whoever it may be, I'm hoping for J.D. Vance or Byron Donalds or Vivek, hoping it's someone, younger than 75. That person will be on the ballot. There'll be an election. Hopefully it's between J.D. Vance and Kamala Harris. The winner in November takes office in January 2029. They will take office, that person. And Donald Trump will get on the helicopter just like he did 3.5 years ago and go home to Mar-a-Lago. That's how it will work, Chris Matthews. And you know it. Joe Scarborough, Robert De Niro, Joe Biden, they know it. And they just keep saying it. I assume they've done polls or focus groups who tell them, let's talk about democracy and let's do it every day. Use every chance you get to talk about preserving democracy. And when you have a minute, throw Trump's guys in prison. Put Trump in prison. They literally had a headline in the New York Times saying Trump is talking about putting his opponents in jail. Trump is going to jail in July. I'm sure of it. The guy they're accusing of imprisoning his opponents is going to jail. It is the most ridiculous appeal, the most ridiculous strategy I've ever seen. And I guess they think it's working. I guess they're going to keep doing it for 5 more months. Joe Biden's going to do it in the debate. He's going to do it in every speech, in every interview, every softball interview he does. He did it with David Muir. And the other day, he'll do it again and again and again. Trump is a threat to democracy. I don't understand it. It makes no sense, but they're just going to keep hammering at it and hoping the idiots out there, 75 million people will say, yeah, we have to vote for the guy who, let's review, the guy who's putting his opponent in jail, the guy who censored any dissent, who shut down the reporting of the laptop, the guy who fired people for not getting a vaccine. That guy kicked people out of the military for not getting a useless vaccine. That guy is accusing the other guy of being a authoritarian, of being a dictator. That's all I got. Hoaxes and lies and hoaxes, which brings us to the latest. Byron Donalds, who is awesome, who is fearless. He went on with Joy Reid yesterday because he's under fire for a completely made up controversy. If you haven't heard it yet, Byron Donalds made an appearance along with Wesley Hunt. They were talking about issues that affect the African-American community. And he said he had a cigar in his hand. I think they had some drinks and they were talking. And he was talking about the Black family. Now, this is a huge issue, and most people are afraid to touch it. Fatherlessness in the Black community. I was just reading up, looking at some statistics, and the number, there's only right now, or in the latest census, only 38% of Black babies are born into 2-parent households. That is alarming. As we know, that's the best indicator of things to come. If you don't have a father in the home, we know you're less likely to graduate from high school. You're more likely to go to prison. In Chicago, 8 of 10 Black children are born into a single parent household. As we know, there's real problems in Chicago. None of the Democrats, none of the media, they don't want to touch it. They don't want to go there. Every weekend we give you the statistics of 40, 50, 60 people shot. Most of them young Black guys. Sometimes they're real young, babies, children, 4 or 5 years old, shot. And they want you to ignore that. That is a real problem. But Donalds is fearless. He'll talk about anything. He'll go in front of, he'll sit down, he'll debate, he'll go on Joy Reid, he'll go on Meet the Press, whatever. He's not afraid. So he's talking, and he says the Black families were more together, more intact during Jim Crow, which is a fact. There was fewer single-parent households. Now, that was a dark time in America. He did screw up when he talked about black people voting more conservatively in Jim Crow, because most black people couldn't vote. That was a mistake, and he admits it. But his point was, we have to do something, keep black families intact. And most politicians on both sides won't talk about this. He will. And he said it, and immediately they clipped it, because that's what they do. They make something out of nothing, and they all ran with it. The memo went out. Let's talk about Byron Donalds claiming. Here's the headline in Politico was, he looked back nostalgically on the Jim Crow era. It's not what he did. We'll play it. We'll play the whole clip, but do you want to play the whole clip or just the one
That's what I was going to ask. I was like, do you want the one they sent out or the full one?
Well, the Biden-Harris campaign clipped it to make it sound, and so did MSNBC and CNN, to make it sound like he was looking back nostalgically on the Jim Crow era. It's not what he did, but the most powerful Democrat in Congress, Hakeem Jeffries, who will be the Speaker of the House if they take the House, he went on the floor of the House and lied over and over again about Donalds. Now, maybe they're doing this because Donalds is on the short list for VP candidates. Doesn't matter. They'll run with any hoax they got. But let's listen to Byron Donalds talk. And again, he's got guts. He's ready he wants to go there. He wants to address this serious problem we have in America. And they want to make it seem like he longs for the days, longs for the nostalgically looks back on the Jim Crow era. Let's listen.
You see, during Jim Crow, the black family was together. That's right. During Jim Crow, more black people were not just conservative, because black people always have been conservative-minded, but more black people voted conservatively. And then HEW, Lyndon Johnson, and then you go down that road, and now we are where we are. What's happened in America?
That, obviously shouldn't have talked about voting, but it's a fact. It's a verifiable fact that more black families were together, and now it is a real problem that black fathers aren't in the household. More, congressmen, senators, candidates should be talking about this, but that didn't matter. They heard him say Jim Crow, and they jumped all over it. And it's one thing, for Joy Reid or whatever, Joe Scarborough to rail and to run with the hoax. That's what they do. But a congressman, the minority leader in the House, perhaps our next Speaker of the House, God forbid, takes to the floor and just lies. Go ahead, play this.
Mr. Speaker, it has come to my attention that a so-called leader has made the factually inaccurate statement that black folks were better off during Jim Crow. That's an outlandish, outrageous, and out-of-pocket observation. We were not better off when a young boy named Emmett Till could be brutally murdered without consequence because of Jim Crow. We were not better off when black women could be sexually assaulted without consequence because of Jim Crow. We were not better off when people could be systematically lynched without consequence because of Jim Crow. We were not better off when children could be denied a high-quality education without consequence because of Jim Crow. We were not better off when people could be denied the right to vote without consequence because of Jim Crow. How dare you make such an ignorant observation? You better check yourself.
I'm not going to be able to handle him. He's going to be around for decades, and the whole just listening to him. He didn't say they were better off. It doesn't matter. He just goes with it. It doesn't matter. Right. He's a Barack Obama wannabe. I think he studied Obama and he wants to be the next Obama. And God help us if he succeeds. But I mean, again, the numbers, the last census, 38% black kids were born into single parent house, born into fatherless homes. 38% born into two parent households in the country. 74% of white kids born into two-parent homes. That used to be close, like before Lyndon Johnson and the Great Society. That was close. Blacks, it was comparable. Black families, white families were about the same. Now it's 74% of white kids in two-parent homes, 38% of black kids. As I mentioned, in Chicago, 80% of black kids born into homes without fathers, 72% in the state of Illinois born into homes without fathers. It's a huge problem, and at least Donald wants to discuss it. These people don't want to address it. Joe Biden will never address that. I mean, he won't address anything beyond threats to democracy, but they immediately send it out. Let's go. Let's get him. Let's get him. He said, he looked back nostalgically. We just played you what he said. Does that sound like he's looking back nostalgically? He's talking about this crisis in the black family. And he's a black man who grew up in a single parent household. And he said that he was determined to be a good father to his kids. And they can't take it. Joy Reid, she can't take it. She was all over him. He went on there again. You don't see Democrats do what they would never go on with with Rob Schmidt or or Sean Hannity. But he'll go on with anyone and he'll battle it out. He's on right now. He's on I don't know what he's on cable news right now, battling it out, defending this hoax, shooting down this hoax. I'm coming around. I'm obviously J.D. Vance is my guy. I want him. But Donald's would be fun. He lives in Florida. That's a problem. But he is a fighter, and that's what Trump needs. A young man. He's 45, I believe, and he's a fighter. And he's a fighter on this vital issue. Good for him, giving it right back to them. But see if we can nothing yet. Joe Biden's late to the party. Surprise, surprise, he's late. But maybe he's waiting for Jill to make it back from Delaware. There's your tax money at work. Joe Biden yesterday sat down with Zelensky and told him he's going to give him another $225 million. And he apologized that it took so long for Republicans to vote to give him that latest $61 billion package. He just, every time he looks at Zelensky, he throws our money at him. That and whatever it costs for Jill Biden to fly back to Delaware for one day to sit in the courtroom with Hunter, and then she's going back to France. What do you think that costs? I don't know, $1 million, $2 million, $5 million? They don't care. Just to sit in the courtroom. I guess that's the whole plan. Have her in the courtroom as some grieving mother. They've introduced a lot of stuff from the laptop. You know what they won't introduce? Where Joe Biden calls his mother the C word. And he calls her stupid in a text or an email. That's on the laptop. I don't think that'll be part of the trial. I don't think that's necessary, but everyone there knows it. His family members, his wives, ex-wives, ex-girlfriends, probably even Weed Slut 420 knows what Hunter thinks about Jill. But Jill is determined to show that the most powerful family in Delaware is standing behind the defendant. Oh yeah, we'll get to the president asked about, this was a big deal yesterday. The president was asked about Hunter, the trial, and will he respect the verdict, and will he pardon his son? This was a big deal. I'll tell you why it's really not a big deal, but let's listen.
As we sit here in Normandy, your son Hunter is on trial, and I know that you cannot speak about an ongoing federal prosecution. But let me ask you, will you accept the jury's outcome, their verdict, no matter what it is?
Yes.
And have you ruled out a pardon for your son?
Yes.
Okay, we chronicle the lies, Joe Biden, every day. I mean, when he's talking, he's lying. Why do we think he's telling the truth here? Why do we think that even matters, that he says he will not pardon him? Well, of course
I personally believe him because of the Clint Eastwood face he's currently making.
Look at that face. Yeah. Clint Eastwood now, he's 95 or whatever he is, just squints, says, yes, rule out a pardon. Why does that matter? He hasn't ruled out a pardon. He won't respect the verdict, but he'll pardon him. He'll at least pardon him after the election in November. But Hunter's gonna be sentenced really soon. The prosecution is expected to wrap up their case today, and the defense only has a couple of witnesses, and Hunter's certainly not going to take the stand. So this trial is going to be over real soon, and he's going to be sentenced, and he's facing 3 felonies. If the jury does the right thing, it makes their judgment on the evidence, the facts, he's going to have to go to jail. And I don't think Joe Biden's going to allow that. I think Joe Biden will pardon him. He'll just say, I looked at all the facts or whatever. He'll come up with some excuse. It doesn't matter what he said to David Muir yesterday. But one interesting thing is coming in August, and that's the book that London Roberts, his baby mama, the former stripper who had a baby, Navy, 5 years old now, with Hunter Biden. Hunter Biden hasn't paid child support. He hasn't paid child support to anybody. His ex-wife, Kathleen Booley, says he owes her $2.9 million. She took the stand yesterday. She's on video, I believe, throwing the gun in the dumpster. And she talked about what a mess he was and what a tough time they had. But London Roberts sat down with Piers Morgan. Piers Morgan is another one of these guys who just looks for, good stories, good interviews. The mainstream media won't even mention this woman's name. And she sat down with Piers Morgan. She didn't really rip Hunter. She said he's reached out to his daughter after fighting for years to deny she was his and deny child support. He has reached out to her, hasn't met her yet, but as she points out, he's a little busy. And she was asked if Joe Biden has reached out to his youngest granddaughter, the one that he denied existed for years. He and Jill, those compassionate, decent people, denied their grandchild even existed. Well, they eventually had to admit that they had a seventh grandchild. They didn't put a stocking up at Christmas for her. They put stockings up for their dog and their cat, but not for their youngest grandchild. Well, London Roberts sat down with Piers Morgan and talked about their complicated relationship. Let's watch.
Have you ever heard from either President Biden or the First Lady directly?
No.
Not a phone call or a letter or anything?
No.
Do you find that surprising?
No, I don't really. I feel like that's something that, they've waited for Hunter to step up.
And if he's watching this interview, what would you say to President Biden about potentially meeting Navy at some stage?
That door is always open. Always has been and always will be.
Has Hunter ever met his daughter?
No, not in person. They've created a relationship, been building a relationship through Zoom. And Hunter was required to call once a month or something like that to Navy gets to pick out one of his paintings. And that's how they would start building a relationship. But Hunter went above and beyond to not only call her once a month, but, once they started building a relationship, he's wanted to call weekly or sometimes a couple times a week just to talk to her. She goes into surgery. He wants to Zoom and talk to her, after he's calling to check on her at different times and things like that.
But you actually did consider taking your own life at one stage?
Yes. I would feel that after the pregnancy.
Enough taking her own life. She said she thought of taking her own life, but realized she was pregnant, didn't want her baby to die. So good for London Roberts. I mean, you got to question the judgment of all of Hunter's girlfriends, exes, wives. I mean, how do you spend time with a guy who's so out of control? But Hunter reached out on Zoom after his daughter had surgery. Nice guy. And Joe Biden and Jill Biden, those people who talk about family. Joe says all the time, family's the beginning, the middle, and the end. hasn't reached out, even sent a card, a birthday card to his youngest granddaughter. And maybe she's better off, but I do think it'd be nice if he paid his child support. That's right. Hunter, Rich on the chat line says Hunter's busy drinking White Claws in a jacuzzi and detox. Don't forget that. That's one of my favorite videos from the laptop. That was in Massachusetts. He was in a weird kind of tub and rehab, real super high-end rehab. And he's smoking crack and drinking a White Claw naked and videotaping it in rehab. So I don't think that one worked. I don't think that stint in rehab worked. I think he had 5 or 6 stints, and I don't think any of them worked. Every time you look at Hunter going to court, he looks like he's on something. I mean, he's always sweaty and nervous and jittery. But
he's either on something or withdrawing so he can pass a test if they give him one.
That's true. That's true. Don't forget, when he joined the Navy, got a special waiver to join the Navy because of his father. He was 40 years old, flunked the drug test on like day 1 and got kicked out of the Navy. Quite a story, that Hunter. And, Jill wants to show what a tight family they have. But when you look at them sitting there, you say, his ex-sister-in-law, who he slept with and got hooked on crack, and his ex-sister-in-law's sister, who he had an affair with, that doesn't really drive home the point that they're a close family. Maybe they're too close.
I was gonna say they're awfully close in some way.
They're a little too close, but that's going to wrap up today. The prosecution's case, and then the defense, and then the sentencing. It will be interesting. Oh God, Joe Biden is speaking right now about democracy. I don't think I can handle any more of this. No more democracy talk. He looks so weak, so old, so tired. I love the idea that he made a great speech. He did. What? You mean he made a great speech because he didn't fall over? Because he didn't, well, I was going to say didn't soil himself, but I think he did.
He might have.
He might have. All right. If he says anything really interesting, we'll turn that around for you. But we got to get to this WNBA story. And how they said they want to be like the NBA, I don't really believe them. I don't think they actually want to be treated like NBA players. And we have to congratulate Miss Alabama. Ironhead is very encouraged by this. Miss Alabama, I don't know. She's built like you, Ironhead. Well, that's not fair. She's got about 100 pounds on you.
At least.
I think I know the rules now in beauty pageants. The rules are you either have to be obese or you have to be a man if you want to win a women's beauty pageant. Those are the rules. We'll get to that and more, but first.
Excuse me.
I want to do this Hillary Clinton tweet before we get to Miss Alabama. You're excited, aren't you, for Miss Alabama?
Yeah.
Hillary Clinton, as we know, is a vile human being, but there were a lot of outrageous things said. A number of people compared the threat to democracy today in America to the threat to democracy in Europe in 1944. Now, if you don't find that disgusting and disgraceful, I don't know what to tell you. That is just vile. Comparing what Trump represents as a candidate, as a president who has already been president, to the situation in Europe in 1944, you are. Anyway, Hillary Clinton tweets out, throw that up there for me. Yesterday, June 6th, 80th anniversary of D-Day, the day we lost and we went over the day 160,000 young men stormed the beaches of France, the day 4,400 Americans and allies died on those beaches. She tweets out, 80 years ago today, thousands of brave Americans fought to protect democracy on the shores of Normandy. This November, all we have to do is vote. And she thought that was so witty and cute. That is disgusting when you think about it. That going to vote for Joe Biden is just like storming the beaches of Normandy when 90% of the young men in the first wave were killed. died on those beaches when paratroopers jumped from low altitudes behind enemy lines. That was just like going to the polls and voting for this 81-year-old corrupt, incompetent, mental dementia patient. What's the difference, Hillary? It's almost, I mean, it's eerie how similar those two things are. What a wretched, awful old woman. I mean, it's going to get worse too. She's not going away, and she is so bitter. And by the way, when they talk about locking up his opponents, he had the chance to lock up her, what she did, destroying 33,000 subpoenaed emails, smashing her phones, BleachBit, all that. I mean, he could have said day one, we're going to prosecute Hillary Clinton. And he didn't. I mean, let's be honest. What she did is a lot worse than falsifying a business record or defying a congressional subpoena from the January 6th committee. He could have locked her up. He didn't. And even while he declined to lock her up, she was busy pushing the Russia hoax, which she bankrolled, the Russia hoax, which dragged this country through the mud for 3 years, all made up by her and her campaign. He didn't lock that person up. He could have. So now we're supposed to think he's going to lock up all his enemies. Just so absurd. All right.
He even said that yesterday in an interview. He's like, people push for that, not everything, but if you think about it, it's actually crazy.
I know what he said. He told that to Sean Hannity, I believe. He said,
yeah.
He said she's the wife of a former president, former secretary of state. Wasn't the right thing to do. Crowds were chanting, lock her up. Lots of Trump supporters wanted to lock her up. You know what? He should have. But now maybe things will be different. Maybe he will not seek retribution, but they changed the rules. They moved the goalpost. It's perfectly appropriate to do what they did. Why wouldn't you? I think they're misreading the room. I think most Trump supporters, most Biden haters want to see him do to them what they did to him. And when they say it and they tweet it and they go on MSNBC and make these pronouncements of, he's going to seek retribution. I think most Trump supporters are sitting there going, good. Why not? Why wouldn't you want him to do what they did? I hate to sound like a child, but they started it. They're the ones that changed the rules of the game. Is this Muir asking Biden?
This is him talking about the upcoming debate and what he's going to say.
Oh, God. You know what? This debate is huge. The polls have not changed. In fact, some of them. Yesterday, poll came out. Virginia is tied. Minnesota is tied. It is desperation time for Joe Biden. And there's so much riding on this debate, which is in 20 days. 20 days. This fossil has to take the stage. I understand, I've explained before, he has two of his most loyal surrogates as moderators. He has all the rules designed to help him. But the idea that he could stand there by himself on stage with Donald Trump and perform well just seems impossible. But 20 days for the media to lower the bar, to lower expectations and make it seem as if he doesn't, come out on stage with his underwear on the outside of his pants, if he doesn't fall down and break a hip, if he doesn't start talking about Uncle Bozy, then they will declare him the victor. That's coming. And God, does he need it? He needs to change. He needs a real change in this campaign. And that's his big chance. After that, I don't know what he's going to do. I don't know what he can do. So it's all riding on June 27th. Let's listen to his strategy for the big debate.
As we sit here today, you're preparing to speak to the world about the fight for democracy, both abroad and at home. We are 3 weeks from this debate. What do you think you need to accomplish on that debate stage?
Say what I think. Let him say what he thinks. The things he said are off the wall. I want to be a dictator on day one. I want to move in a direction where he talks about, suspending the Constitution. All I have to do is hear what he says, remind people what he says and what I believe, what he believes. He's about him. I'm about the country.
I'm about the country. The guy who's made tens of millions of dollars selling out this country. See if you can get the comment. I believe it was also with Hannity when he had a town hall with Trump, and Trump said he's going to be a dictator on day one, and he's joking, and he says, "I'm going to close the border and I'm going to drill, baby, drill." That's it. And every time Biden talks, Kamala Harris talks, or any of their loyal supporters in the mainstream media, they say, "He told you you're going to be a dictator." He did. He joked about being a dictator for one day to close the border and to open up our energy industry. That was it. That's it. And they run with it every day. He told you he's going to be a dictator. Honestly, I feel like they treat us like children. They do, like children, that people are sitting back going, uh-oh, Trump said he's going to be a dictator. I better vote for Joe Biden. That's the best they got. Is this Trump talking about it?
Yeah, this is the 7-second clip they use, that gets all the context.
Okay, let's hear
We
it.
want government out of our business, out of our wallets, and out of our lives. This is what we want.
Oh, maybe not. Hold on.
No, that's not. He was sitting down.
I know which one you're talking about. It's old. If you look it up right now, it's flooded with everything from yesterday, unfortunately. I'll find it.
We'll see if we can find it. We'll see if we'll get to we might get to some Joe Biden talking, groaning, stumbling, bumbling, talking about democracy in the same spot Ronald Reagan stood and gave a just spectacular speech 40 years ago. We'll get to that. And your Angel Reese update, and we'll introduce you to Miss Alabama, who's probably going to be Miss America. Let's be honest.
Probably.
Let's be honest. These are the rules now. Beauty pageants, they're not about beauty anymore. We'll show you that and more. But first.
Excuse me.
Oh, he's all done. He's shuffling. Oh, God. He's shaking hands with some of the the veterans of D-Day, of Normandy, who many of them look better, sound better than he does. That's not a good look. That is not a good look. But anyway, we're going to talk about the WNBA again, which is incredible. The WNBA wanted attention, right? They wanted people to watch, to listen, to follow, and they are. I mean, we are. Good for them. They got what they wanted. It's all because of one person, Caitlin Clark, and they hate her for it, which is revealing and incredible. But you heard perhaps that some of the players from the what is the team called again? Chicago Sky.
Yep.
I gotta learn my team names if I'm going to become a WNBA fan. Well, they complained. Let me get the story up. They complained that they just can't go about their lives without being harassed. This is Angel Reese. She says, finding out our team's hotel to
Oh yeah, this is impossible to read, by the way.
This is I think she's a college graduate, isn't she? Sort of.
Yeah, a 1.8 GPA from LSU.
Here's what she writes. Finding out our team's hotel to pull with a camera as we get off the bus and put it in my teammate's face and harass her is nasty work. This really is out of control and needs to stop. That's one player. A whole bunch of them tweeted about the harassment they faced when they got off the bus at their team hotel. And first you hear this, you say, oh, this sounds awful. They were harassed. I assumed, is this, what's her name? Isabella Harrison. Wow. Thank God for security. My teammate being harassed at our hotel is insane. Couldn't even step off the bus. You hear this? You see it on Twitter. You hear it, you say, "Oh man, that's awful." They must have jumped all over Kennedy. I guess we're supposed to pronounce it Kennedy, but she spells it Kennedy. Why would you spell it Kennedy if you want to be called Ken? Why did her parents do that to her? Kennedy Carter, who, as we know, took a cheap shot at Caitlin Clark while the play was dead, just threw a hip or a shoulder into her, knocked her down. It was ridiculous. But we heard she was harassed. When you hear that, what do you think? That someone really got up in her face, maybe yelled at her, called her a cheap shot artist, called her a punk, said she should have, been kicked out of the league, maybe kicked off the team, which is her third team. She's 25 years old. She's been kicked off 2 other teams. Maybe they brought that up. Well, apparently they didn't really think this through, because they accused the guy of harassing her by putting a camera in her face. Well, he had a camera. He had a phone out. He was asking her a question, one question, and it wasn't in her face, and it wasn't harassment. Watch this.
Ms. Carter, have you got a chance to reach out to Caitlin?
Hey, man, come on with that.
Relax. Have you got a chance to reach out to Caitlin? Trinity, have you gotten a chance? The basketball world wants to know if you've gotten a chance to reach out to her.
That's it. How close did he get to her? Maybe 10 feet at the maybe. And this guy, this goon is like pushing him and holding and blocking his view. He asked one very simple, good, polite question. Did you get a chance to reach out to Caitlin Clark? I mean, it's a yes or no question. I mean, sure, no, whatever. She ignores him. And then all her teammates go to Twitter, go to the media and say, we're being harassed. That's it. I'm sorry, but if you want to be treated like NBA players, like professional athletes, that's not a big deal right there. You got asked a question by a guy with a camera, with a phone, and you didn't answer him, and you went into your hotel and you went about your life. That's harassment. Wow. How do you think Kyrie Irving was treated when he walked around Boston, or when he just walked to his hotel or walked to the Garden? Do you think he had anyone with a camera shouting something at him? Do you think maybe? And, to his credit, I mean, Kyrie sucked last night, which was surprising, because I think he kind of likes the hate.
Yeah.
But that's got to be like every day. He's in Boston today. He's probably going to lunch. He's probably going to have people whip out their phones and say things to him, and they won't be that polite. But Angel Reese is such a fraud. I mean, she's just such a fraud. She's such a mean, nasty, jealous woman. And Kennedy Carter, she is a punk. We've seen it. She's been a punk her whole career. But she didn't answer, by the way. And you know what? You know why? Because she didn't reach out, because she doesn't feel bad, because she hates Caitlin Clark. She can't stand her.
She hasn't been hiding that fact either.
Can you see if Jemele Hill tweeted about that? I'm curious if she jumped on board and called that harassment. Jemele Hill, who used to be a member of the media, now she's just some crazy activist who's, who just looks at everything as some kind of racist plot. So she'll probably take the girl's side and say, that was harassment. But all right, let's get to our favorite story of the day. New rules in the United States. New rules. In America, beauty pageants aren't about beauty anymore. Those days are gone. If you want to win a beauty pageant, if you want to be homecoming queen or Miss Alabama, you got 2 choices. You either have to have a penis or you have to be morbidly obese. This is, let me get her name, Sarah Milliken. She's 23 years old, and she's not a little chubby. Let's be honest. She's not a plus size model like Ashley Graham. I understand a lot of people are very attracted to Ashley Graham. A lot of people, they like, a little meat on the bones. This is ridiculous. This is a very unhealthy young woman. I know we're not supposed to be fat phobic. I know we're supposed to celebrate diversity in of body types. This woman won Miss Alabama. Alabama has some pretty beautiful women. And generally, when you'd see like Miss America or Miss Universe, Miss Alabama would be a contender. There she is, if you're watching along, in the middle. And there's the 4 runners up. Guess which one's Sarah? See if you can pick out the winner. I mean, she can barely walk. She's not just, she doesn't have to lose a couple pounds. She has to lose 200 pounds to be at a healthy body weight. And yet we're celebrating this woman. She's going to Florida, I believe it is, for the Miss America pageant. Look at that face. She's bigger than, Chris Christie. She is massive. She's bigger than Lizzo. And she's proud and she's happy. And I understand she won. She's got the flowers and the sash. But what are we doing here?
I wonder what she would look like in an NYPD softball uniform.
Did they have a swimsuit competition, or did they get rid of those? Right? They don't have those anymore. You come out in a bikini.
Yeah, I mean it's a one-piece competition now, and they'd have to stitch together about 18. Yeah. So I don't think it would count.
I don't know, man. That's uncomfortable. Everybody watching knows she's not the most beautiful. That used to be kind of a requirement. You had to be beautiful. I'm not saying she's a bad person. She's probably a lovely woman. She's 23. What's she going to look like? And she's not going to get healthy because we're celebrating her in that condition. If she dies tomorrow because of stress on her heart, are we going to say, well, good for her. She had a good run. She died doing what she loved.
She was a beautiful soul.
Yeah, she was inside. She was beautiful. She's just massive. And I'm sure her doctor, probably her parents, her friends tell her, you got to cut back on the carbs. But not now. Not now. She's Miss Alabama, maybe Miss America. I guess I should be encouraged because she's not a man. She doesn't have a penis. That's good. We're making progress. Mm-hmm. But she might be Miss America. That's the problem with this country right there. Now, forget the fact that we have a obesity problem. We have an acceptance problem. That should not be accepted as beautiful. She should be encouraged. You want to call it shame? Call it what you want. She should be encouraged to get healthy, to get just reasonably, healthy. She doesn't have to be 120 pounds, but maybe, get down to 250, 300.
It's a starting point. Yeah.
Yeah. Why not? All right.
She wouldn't make weight the UFC heavyweight division.
She probably doesn't step on a scale, but go ahead, Ironhead. You're an expert. What do you think she tips the scales at?
Legitimately 350 at least. I'd say.
At least.
Just judging by her face
I know her face is just massive. It's just she has no.
And I can't talk.
Forget the triple chin. She has no chin. Her face is just this big blob, and she's got a big smile. And good for her. She's happy. She won. She's going to Florida. She's going to Miss whatever it is, Miss Universe or whatever. That's not how it's supposed to work. All right, Ironhead's on his way to Vegas.
I am on my way to Vegas.
What are you going to do in Vegas? You going to go to the Trump rally?
I am on Sunday. I'm trying to get press passes for the show, but we'll see how that's coming. I think I'm getting a hiccup here.
Really?
Yeah.
You're going to try to get to Trump's rally in Vegas on Sunday?
Yeah. I don't think I'll get a sunburn either. In the desert.
Is it at a big venue? Is it going to be like 80,000, 100,000 people, or is it a small room?
I think it's outside, but
that's
it's
good.
Vegas. It's Vegas, so I don't know how many people will actually show up. People will be like, "Nah, I'm just going to go to the hotel and game."
I think they love him in Vegas, though. He's Mr. Vegas. Dana White will be there.
I was going to say Dana White will probably be there.
All these MMA guys who love him, these UFC guys, they'll show up. They live in Vegas. It's got to be some celebrities who show up. I know a lot of celebrities are afraid to show their support for Trump. They keep it under wraps. But in Vegas, he might get a good star-studded crowd. That'll be good. You should definitely make it a point, even if you have to wait in line. It'll be exciting. The line, those They look like fun, those crowds. You know, everybody's
Yeah.
happy.
You still have
All right.
the same skin complexion as me, so I think the desert and us don't really go well.
Slap on the sunscreen, you know, wear a long sleeve, whatever. It's going to be hot, but that'll be fun. So have a good time. We're going to be back Monday, even though you're going to be hungover and broke.
No, I'm going to be rich. Let's be positive.
How much money are you bringing?
I'll probably bring a couple $100. See what
Couple
happens.
of hundred. The high roller's going to take a. You're going to bet on sports. You're going to.
No, I'm going to put
blackjack?
that immediately on black on the roulette table and see if that helps my my weekend. Just double my money immediately.
On just do roulette. That's a good plan. You know, that's one of the better, bets.
50.
50-50. Although I had dinner with the big casino guy a couple of years ago, the guy who built the Encore, and he explained to us the best bets. The best bet is craps on the what do you call the line on craps? I don't even know how to play craps. I've watched it 100 times. I've never quite understood it. But he said craps is your best bet. But you have to figure out how to play.
Yeah, I was gonna say I can't comprehend that game. I watch it and I'm just like,
It looks like fun. I should figure it out, but I never got the bug. Never got the bug. If I were gambling, you know what I'd do? I'd bet on the Celtics.
Yeah, no kidding.
Here's my quick analysis. They're much better. How's that for your breakdown? They are a much better team. Even when they go on the road, they're a better team. They got two great guards, but the rest of the crew is not nearly as good, as deep, as talented as the Celtics. So Celtics are on their way to an NBA title. And Ironhead's on his way to Vegas. Good luck. Good luck. Don't talk to strange women out there. Don't.
I won't.
No. Have fun.
Weed
Thanks
slut
for listening.
420 or something.
Yeah, stay away from weed slut 420. All right, that will do it for today and for this week. Thanks for listening. Thanks for chatting, commenting. We got a lot of comments here today, Ironhead. Oh, yes. Yes, get ready, says Rich. They're going to be yelling about Hitler for the next 5 months. Yes, they are. Trump is Hitler, so everything goes. That's the theme of this campaign from Joe Biden. But thanks for listening. Thank you, Ironhead. Have fun out there. I'm Jerry Callahan. This is the Callahan